Hi everybody, I'm back. Second video today. Yes, I'm doing a new case. The opening statements were yesterday. I'm going to cover those for you today. Very interesting. We're going to go back to murder. Now, the first case that I'm covering is Zachary Young versus CNN for defamation. It's a civil case. So we're going to go back to criminal for this case. And we're going to head up to West Virginia. Everybody get your coffee, get in the car. Let's go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notification bell because you don't want to miss a single episode. And consider becoming a member so you can support the content of this channel. Also, that thumbs up button certainly does help the algorithm. Okay, enough business here. Yes, we're in West Virginia. Let's all get out of the car, get into the courthouse, and see what this is all about. So Natalie Cochran, I could not figure out her age, but I will. I'm guessing 40-ish. She is accused of murdering her 38-year-old, 200-pound healthy husband, Michael Cochran, back on February 6th of 20, what was the year? We need a year, right? Hold on. Let me get my notes. What was the year? What was the year? $2019. Yep, 2019. So on that date, actually on February 5th, well, let me back up here. It is the prosecution's theory of the case that Natalie Cochran killed her husband because she was trying to cover up a $2 million financial fraud scheme that she was pulling over on everybody. So you're going, what? It's a Ponzi scheme. She was doing a Ponzi scheme. So she had a business set up, and this business purported to offer supplies pursuant to government contracts. So Michael knew about the business, but did not know about the illegality of the business. Like, did he never stop and go, hey, what are we shipping? What is this we are shipping here? No, nobody apparently asked, what are we shipping? Goods and services. So his job was to go online and find these contracts, and then they would bid on them. And they would get investors but they never delivered any goods. But they would get investors to invest in their business. And the way it works in a Ponzi scheme is you have your group of investors, and this would be family, friends, local businesses, anybody she could get convinced to give her money, and loans that she would take out. So there'd be that first layer of investors. Then then you have a second wave of investors. That money goes to pay off the first layer of investors, because you're never making any money on the Ponzi scheme because they weren't winning contracts or filling bids or, filling orders or providing supplies. They were just getting investors. So then, the third set of investors goes to pay off the second set of, so you see how this works. So, and there's even an opportunity for investors to reinvest any money that they've made. Now, there you go. To the tune of to the tune of $2 million. She didn't want her husband to know the illegality of what she was doing. And on the date that he collapsed, this is not the date, he died 4 days. He collapses on the 5th, going into the 6th. And later that evening, he's taken to the hospital. He dies like 4 days later after that. Now, it's the plaintiff's contention that he died from the administration of insulin. What? No, this does not sound like insulin administration to me. It just doesn't. Because that would have killed you right away, pretty much. It's not going to kill you 4 days later. But there's a lot of factors that play into this. So anyway, that date, they had some friends, the Davises, who were investors as well. They had chartered a flight with them. They were going to fly Natalie and her husband, Michael, over to Bank of America in West Virginia. And that's the date he was going to see the books, and he would have recognized the illegality of what was going on. So the prosecution's theory is she was trying to prevent that day, and she did prevent it that day. He didn't learn about it that day. Now, it's the defense's theory that, of course, Michael knew about it. Of course he knew about it. This was her husband. How did he not know about it? He lived in the house. I'm kind of on his side. How does he not know about it? Who does he think he's getting contracts for? Go out and look for some government contracts, honey, so that we could supply goods. Supply what? What are we supplying? Just supply goods. Just do it. What? Yeah. Oh, let me show you a picture of who we're talking about. Yeah, I've got pictures. All right. This is Natalie and her husband. Am I showing it? I'm showing it. Oh, no, I'm not. Hold on. I'm not showing it. How about here? Oh, there's Natalie. How about here? There we go. That's Natalie and her husband, Michael. Oh, my God. He is adorable. Adorable. Oh, my word. Okay, then I've got a picture of what she looks like now. Let's add that in here. If you turn it on Court TV or Long Crime, this is who you're going to see sitting at the witness table. This is what Natalie looks like now. Isn't she cute? She looks very studious. She's a former pharmacist. And that was one of the defense's theories. Why is a pharmacist going to try to kill somebody with insulin when they can? There's so many other things out there that will kill you that can go undetected. And pharmacists know this. Hey, I'm a little antifreeze, although they're catching on to the antifreeze. Anyway, just say potassium chloride, whatever you got. Why are you using insulin? Okay. So let's talk about the opening statements. And you got to see this defense attorney. I'm telling you what, I got Godfather vibes. He's a big guy. I mean, a big old guy, big dude. And he has this accent. I don't know if it's Italian or what. He's just got this big, thick accent. And just reminds me very Godfather. Anyway, so on the morning of February 6th, and this is the prosecution talking about their case. There's, first of all, jury, you're not going to see any fingerprints, DNA, stuff like you would see on Law and Order. We don't have any of that stuff. We don't have any direct evidence. There's no videos. There's no ring cameras. There's no, tracking her cell phone. Nothing like that goes on here. Everything is circumstantial. But here are the circumstances. On February 6th, the morning of February 6th, the morning they were supposed to take that flight out over to the Bank of America, he gets 103-degree temperature and had been sick all night. And she tells her neighbor is the Davises, the ones that are going to fly them. I think they're the same neighbors. In any case, her neighbor has a son who's on insulin, and they're very close with these people. And she apparently had permission to pick up this woman's son's insulin. So 4 months after the alleged murder, they find insulin at Natalie Cochran's home, and they think, "Oh, we got it. It's insulin." Insulin doesn't cause a fever. I'm sorry. It just doesn't. In any case, and I don't know what this is about her saying she had cancer. apparently, I don't know what that, I have no idea what that was all about. So she calls her friend. According to the prosecution, she had called her friend and said, can you bring over some insulin? Sometimes it helps with some of my cancer symptoms. So her friend, Jennifer, has her husband take this insulin over to the Cochran house. So he collapses in the kitchen about 12:30, and he's on the kitchen floor. And instead of calling 911, I look like Harry Potter, don't I? Hermione. Okay. So instead of calling 911, she calls two construction workers, contractors that are at her house. I don't know what they were contracted to be doing, but she had them pick up her husband and put him on the couch. And, don't you want to call 911? Don't you want to go to the hospital? Oh, no, he doesn't like hospitals. No, he won't go to the hospital. So he sat on that couch for probably another 6 or so hours, and people were coming and going, and they'd be like, do you want to get him to the hospital? No. He doesn't like hospitals. He'll be fine. To the point where at one point he defecates and urinates on himself. And their response, Natalie's response, is she gets her sister and they clean him up, change his clothes. He's still on the couch for another few hours until the Davises come over, the people that were chartering the plane with them. The Davises come over and they're like, no, he needs to go to the hospital. And Mr. Davis is like, okay, get him in the car. We're taking him to the hospital. And they take him to the hospital. According to the plaintiff, his glucoses had been traditionally around 140, historically around 140. When he gets to the hospital, his blood sugar is at 21. I gotta tell you, that's so low. Oh my God. Like he needs, and that's what will happen if you administer insulin to someone that doesn't need it. Their blood sugar is going to drop, like plummet. They're not going to get a fever. They're not going to get sick. They're not going to defecate and urinate on themselves. But they're going to be very ill. They're going to pass out. They're going to need blood sugar, orange juice, candy bar, whatever you got. But according to the plaintiff, Mike's mother lives 10 minutes away from them. She's she's a retired registered nurse. They don't call her. She never calls Mike's mom. She's not notified that her son is down until he's hospitalized, and it's like 10 o'clock at night. That's when she first gets notified. In any case, I think what they're contending is, with regard to the insulin, that once it was so low for so long of a period of time that it caused him brain damage. And I have to really listen to what the experts are going to say in this case to hear that for myself. But I suspect that's what we're going to hear. So now the prosecutor is saying, well, I just told you how it happened. Let me tell you why it happened. Let me tell you why. Because the plaintiff has millions that she's taken from her friends, her family, her coworkers, her relatives, local businesses, and tied it up in a Ponzi scheme. Now, what I did not tell you is that Natalie Cochran is incarcerated. She's in federal custody. She took a plea. A federal prosecutor offered her a plea deal on this fraud that she'd been charged with related to the Ponzi scheme, and she took the deal. So she's serving a 5-year sentence in a federal jail, prison, whatever you want to call them. They're posh compared to a criminal, compared to a county lockup or a regular state prison. So in any case, did Michael know that this was a scheme? Did he know? And then he talks about how they had chartered this flight to go over to the Bank of America in Virginia to check on the money. Never got there. They were living a very lavish lifestyle. And she knew that everything was going to blow up on February 6th. Yeah. And he contends that part of the circumstantial evidence is that she's a pharmacist and a diabetic consultant. So she knows what insulin will do. Okay. So the defense gets up there and they're really clever. They're like, listen, she's not a nice person. We know she defrauded a lot of people. A lot of people angry out there are angry with her. She's not a nice person. She took money from family, friends, relatives, local businesses. She took out loans. She's not a nice person. But you know what? She is not also a murderer. This doesn't all add up to murder. That doesn't mean, this doesn't make her a murderer. He says it doesn't translate to murder. I don't know if it did or it didn't. I guess you're going to have to prove to me that it. Well, she's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. So the plaintiff is going to have to prove to me that hubby didn't know about this. Anyway, they were high school sweethearts. She's been in love with him since the day she met him in high school. They had 2 children together. He says this was not a healthy 200-pound male. He had been hospitalized 4 times in the 2 years prior to his collapse on February 6th for life-threatening conditions. But he didn't tell us what those were. I guess we're going to get into the medical records later on. But he also makes him out to be this steroid junkie. Oh, he liked to work out, he liked to take care of himself, and he was ordering steroids from Mexico. Really? That's interesting. Okay. So he claims that the bottle of insulin was found 4 months after this guy died. They're trying to figure out what's going on, And he says that Mrs. Natalie, his client Natalie, would sometimes pick up the kids' insulin for her neighbors, the Davises. So this was the Davises kid. She would sometimes pick it up. So yeah, she had it in her house. And this is what he ends up with. She didn't cremate him. If she was trying to cover up a murder, wouldn't she have had him cremated? She's a pharmacist. She knows you're going to find something, especially if you're giving them insulin, you're going to find it. She didn't have him cremated. I don't know that I would have gone there, but it's interesting. It's an interesting argument, right? All right. The first person on the stand was Robert Heinzman. He gave a little bit of his background. He has a really interesting background. He started out as a West Virginia insurance fraud investigator. Then he goes to work for the police and then the state police, and all the time doing insurance fraud investigation, financial crime investigations and stuff. And then he ends up working as a certified fraud examiner. That's one of the certifications he has. He went to law school. Now he's a practicing attorney, but just before, or probably while he was in law school, the last case that he investigated for financial fraud for the state police financial crime department was the case of Natalie Cochran. So he said this was the last case he investigated in law enforcement. He said that she had entered into this federal plea agreement. He described a Ponzi scheme as it's fraud. It is an illegal business practice where you induce someone to invest money and then you continue to get investors. And the later investors are actually paying money to the earlier investors. The money you're getting from the later investors goes to pay off the earlier investors. He goes, there's several red flags you look for when you're looking at one of these schemes. First of all, does it sound too good to be true? If it does, it probably is too good to be true. They're going to promise you low risk, high reward. You're going to get your money back, like plus some, plus some, plus some. Trust me, you're not going to lose your money on this. And you're going to have the opportunity to reinvest your money. If you make money, you can reinvest it, make more money. So those are red flags. So he said that this case started when a local businessman reported it. Apparently, she had solicited this local businessman to be in the scheme. I don't know if he was or he wasn't, but he reported it. So she purported to be a supplier of goods to fulfill government contracts. I don't know what goods. Maybe diamond paintings. No, the government doesn't want my diamond paintings. Okay, never mind. And the business is legitimately set up. You know, they're incorporated. They're set up as a legitimate business. And he says, during my investigation, I felt like Michael Cochran thought this was a legitimate business. At no time did he ever get the sense that Michael had any flavor for the illegality that was going on here. So they never got any government contracts, ever. Never got any awarded to their business. So he looked at a large amount of documents that support she was 100% owner of this company. He had no interest in this company. To the extent he was involved, he would look and identify federal contracts that they could go after. Michael would ask the same questions as the investors. What are we shipping? That'd be my question. What are we shipping? Okay. Also mentioned calls between the defendant and her husband. So he looked at text messages between her and him. He looked at emails between her and him. He looked at phone records. He interviewed witnesses. And he says, out of all of this, I did not get a sense that Mike Cochran knew anything about the illegality of what she was doing. Yeah. So that's where I'm going to leave off today. When it got to the point where the defense attorney was just going round and round and round. Well, what about blah, blah, blah? And what about blah, blah, blah? And here's a paper, and here's a paper, and here's a paper. And, you know, and this poor guy, he's like, what are you looking at? Here's something I want you to look at. And he'd hand it to him. What is it? It's a financial document. And then he would ask him a question like, is it Michael's signature on that? And yes, and blah, 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 and, you know, whatever. He's already said, after I did this entire investigation, this was my conclusion. I don't know how any of that's going to impeach him, but okay. And I don't know how long it went on for. I'll let you know in the next episode. So have a great day, everybody. I will see you in tomorrow's episode where I'll cover what occurred in the, see if we got a verdict in the CNN trial. And I'll cover the rest of the testimony in this trial for day 1 and day 2. Have a great day, everybody. Bye. Where's my outro? Where is it? It's here. I'm going to play it. Ready? Here we go.